Hello, lovers.
Roses are red, violets are blue. We really want to share our conversation hearts with you.
Welcome to Likewise's second annual Week of Love with a new bookish episode every day. I'm Issa.
And I'm Sam, and we're so excited for you to join us and our author Galentine's while we share our love for romance books.
What can I say? We love love.
Welcome back to day 3 of Week of Love. We are so excited, and it's already flying by. Already like basically halfway through, I think. But today, our indie author that we have joining us is our dear friend Elle F. Sun. So I will let Elle introduce herself to you however she would like.
Hi, I'm Elle, and I'm so excited to be here. I feel like this has been in the works for gosh, maybe almost a year now. So it's like really exciting. Let's see how to describe myself. I have been writing for over a year now. I have two dogs, and I love to read like as much as I love being an author. So I feel like I am just like very immersed in the book talk, in the bookgram, and the book things, all of the things. So yeah, I'm just excited to be here.
Oh, we're so excited to finally be chatting with you, quasi face to face over Zoom, LOL. And of course, this would not be a true Likewise experience if there weren't so many technical difficulties. My bad. Yeah, why I decide to not charge my computer and then it dies right after I start the Zoom, don't know. That's a mystery that will likely never be solved. So, um, we're really, really excited to be talking with you today and like pick your brain about staying in your lane and all the things in the LF Sun universe. But of course, before we get into that, we're going to start this episode as we always do with our roses and thorns. So, Sam, do you want to start us off with those?
Of course. Wow. Like it's hard to have a new thorn since yesterday. Like, I mean, no, there's my thorn is the same. Like my car is still stuck in my garage.
Oh,
The saga continues. Um, yeah, garage is still broken. That can be my thorn. And then my rose. I'm just so excited for the weekend. The day this episode probably comes out is definitely not a weekend, but the day we're recording is a Friday, so it's the weekend. I'm excited for the weekend. Tomorrow is actually my 3.5 year anniversary with my boyfriend, and so we're gonna do a
hmm.
little date, like dinner date night tomorrow, I think. So, you know, week of love. It's time to just be loving. So,
I
yeah,
hope he makes you chili.
honestly, yeah, maybe we shouldn't even go out and he should just make his famous chili.
Hmm.
But yeah, that I think is my roses and thorns. Elle, what are yours?
Oh gosh. So it's funny because like you said, when this is probably like airing, it's obviously not the same, you know. But my rose would be that I'll just keep it simple. My rose would be I went onto Amazon to get the link for my Kindle Unlimited for Stay in Your Lane, and it was number one in the swimming genre. So, woo! So funny. I like don't keep up with that like type stuff. So I don't know how long it's been there. I don't know. I just like went in there and I was like, oh, hello. But my thorn would be though that upon that happening, Amazon has like upcharged my listing for some reason. Like my book is supposed to be $22 and it's listed for $32. So I don't really know what that's about. So I emailed KDP and we'll see how that goes. But for any authors out there, they know KDP is not user friendly. To say it politely. So yeah, that's what's happening today.
Oh my word. I hope they get that figured out for you, because like that's not, I mean, that's great for you if people are buying it. Unless
Yeah, I feel
Amazon's
bad though.
taking those 10 extra dollars. Um, so then that's just not cool for anyone except Amazon.
Yeah. Hmm. True.
My thorn is, oh my gosh. So last night I had a soccer game, and what happens when it's like cold? The ground is so hard and it's freezing. And then it was freezing yesterday. And then I fell because I'm an idiot. Like, so My knee is all bruised up. Like it looked so gnarly last night, but it's just like swollen and like a couple scrapes and it's like so bruised.
Ugh.
In the moment, couldn't really feel it because it was all numb because it's so cold.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so that's my thorn. And my rose, oh man, I'm just having a great time reading Onyx Storm right now. And I'm going to my friend's house tonight and we're going to have like our little mini book club. And we call it book club, even though we don't actually book club. We kind of talk about books, but mostly just like talk about life and stuff. And like these are one of the friends is someone I've known since like kindergarten, and then we went to college together. And then the other
Mm.
one is someone that we met in college in the dorms. And then she like grew up just like 10, 15 minutes away from us. And we're like, no way, small world. So so cutie, so fun. Yeah, just living, nothing, loving today.
Literally. I love that.
And oh my gosh, so exciting that stay in your lane is in the number one for swimming. Like I also like I never think to like look on Amazon at like lists or like look at anything. And like I mean, which is a good thing. I feel like it's so
Yeah, yeah,
like,
definitely.
mental and stuff to like not be checking for those things, but so exciting when it just like is there as a surprise, like, oh yay, like
Yeah.
big accomplishment. Little
Feels
orange.
kind of silly, but I'll take it, you know?
Yes. Um, but
So
speaking of stay in your lane, obviously. Um, so Stay in Your Lane is your debut novel, which released back in September. But before that, you also had released a novella called The Nature of Emotions. And then now you are promoting the second book in the Everson Valley series. Literally, like I say promoting as if this did not just start like now. But you're starting to promote it, and it's just so exciting. It's called Make the Right Call officially. I was so excited that that title reveal happened before we recorded, so we could like say it. Um,
And honorable mention that you were the first person to guess it. The
yes,
literal first comment too. I was like, okay.
when I commented it, I almost like before I put I love games. I almost wrote I fear I'm right. But then I was like, "Ah, I feel like if I say that, I'm either like jinxing myself and it's gonna be wrong, or like I was like, oh my gosh, people are gonna think that I'm someone who already knew it, and then it's just like saying it, you know? I'm like, I was like,
Yeah.
but I was thinking it. I was like, I fear I'm right, and so I felt so good about myself. Um, but just like, what is your writing process like? And is there anything you've learned from publishing each release that you will carry with you to the next?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny because the difference of like stay in your lane and the nature of emotions is just like, I mean, because the nature of emotions was I think a 15, like a 58, 59 day, like start to finish production. Granted, I had already like wrote, I think half of that novella because the origin behind that is it was essentially like I was going through a period of like singleness and dating and just like really weird situationships, but they were very, very intense. And so I was like keeping track of kind of like how I was feeling with this like storytelling, almost like diary writing in my notes app on my phone. And then in like November of 2023, I was like visiting my mom and I was like telling her about how I had started reading again. And I was like on Instagram and like, learned about self publishing and stuff. And she was like, oh, well, maybe you'll finally like publish something. Cause I've written things in the past, like essays and short stories and poems that have been published, but like, nothing outside of that. And so I basically took that and was just like, yeah, I'm going to publish it. I'm going to turn it into a story. It was already like titled The Nature of Emotions. I had to like expand upon it a little bit, but basically, like I said, like start to finish from like, I'm going to do this to publication, like around 2 months, basically. And then Stay in Your Lane. It's funny because was not the book and the Everson Valley series was not the series that was next. I actually had started writing a book in August of 2023 that I thought was going to be my debut. And then the nature of emotion things kind of just like smacked me in the face. Also felt like an easier way to kind of like put my foot in the door because it wasn't like a novel. It wasn't like something really big. It was kind of like, okay, I'll put this out there. And if it flops and like it's not, I wouldn't have invested like too much, but at least will still have like published. But anyways, it just opened an even bigger door. And I think like 3 days later, I don't know, it was like not very long after, I was driving to work and I was thinking about how I couldn't wait for it to like warm up a little bit because I wanted to like start going back and like swimming at our like local rec center. And it just like smacked me in the head, like writing this story about, well, one, I was like, I don't think I've read a swimming book before. And then I was like, two, I don't think I've like really read a lot of like female athlete books, or definitely like rowing, which is amazing. But I just like at that time in my reading journey, like hadn't found a lot. And since then, like now there are lots out there. But anyways, and it just was like this unfolding of this. And like from there, it kind of just like turned into a universe that it is now. But I had two kind of like hiccups during that whole process, which was that one, I decided that I was kind of coming at it from the wrong angle. And then two, I kind of had to do like a rewrite because of that. And then I guess three, like 2 weeks before publication, I decided I needed to change my cover, which was like, literally like, ugh. But I'm like glad that I figured all of that out now. But what I learned from a lot of that was like, it's okay to not like announce everything. And I think that it's like really fun, obviously, like that's very like trendy to announce like your title and your tropes and your all this stuff. And I think that when it's something concrete like a title or tropes and things that aren't necessarily going to waver per se, yeah, absolutely, like advertise, like market those. But other things like maybe your final cover reveal, or like maybe some like really big plot points or teasers, like I don't know, I just feel like I really learned to be careful with like how much I'm sharing. And so going into Make the Right Call, definitely have a lot more kind of like reservations with one, how much I'm sharing, but also to my planning process. I went for the route with Stay in Your Lane of I like kind of made an outline, but then was like, I'm just going to write and see what happens. It works for a lot of people. And obviously it worked. I published my book. But what I kind of took after that was, I think that if I sat down and really like took the time to like jot down like my thoughts and my ideas and like make character lists and like flow charts and like all of these things, it would have been a lot smoother for Stay in Your Lane. And I think even with Make the Right Call, this was not the book that was supposed to be next either. So I've talked a little bit about that. And so Wes and Lennon, which is just like public knowledge, it's fine. Like, I've been very upfront about it. They were supposed to be next. I tried to start their book 4 different times. And like every time I would get through it, I would reread it and I'd be like, this just feels so wrong. But in the back of my head, I just felt like Margot's story was like right there. And I was talking to like a few friends, and I was talking to my editor, Sierra even, and I was just like, I just like can't figure out like what I should do. And then finally, I made the game time decision, and I was like, I'm changing the order. Like, I think that's one of the really beautiful things about being indie is like you have a lot of flexibility and you get to kind of like, change course if you need to. And for ultimately for like the betterment of my mental health, and also just for like the future publishing of books and being able to like continue with something, it was to change the order. And I think again, a lot of this like learned from the process of the way that I went about Stay in Your Lane. It was very much like decision forward, like announcement forward, and not kind of like, let me ponder these things and let me think through these things and then kind of be like, okay, and I think a lot of that just has to do with like marketing in general. Like the desire for immediacy is just like so prevalent, like wanting like to see like new content and new tropes and new things and stuff. And it can be really hard to balance that as well. And so I feel like right now, like I'm just in a really good spot of kind of like making sure that I'm not like oversharing, but also like making sure that I am sharing with, the people that support me and like want to celebrate like the progress. But I think like for the rest of this, I mean, it's just going to be very like scaled down and like very just minimized, which honestly, like I think will just pay off in the long run. So I think, yeah, it's been crazy. But I mean, the consistent kind of thread though is like, I've always, I will say, like really listened to myself and like honored like what I felt like was true to the story. And kind of like that's always my biggest encouragement too when people ask me like I'm at a point where I'm stuck in this and I'm like you just have to do what's true to yourself and it will find the right audience. The people that like it will support you, and it's obviously not easy to just be like okay great, but that's kind of just like where I'm at, like in the mentality of like protecting my peace and making sure that I'm still like keeping up with marketing and just all that stuff. But I am excited nonetheless. I'm really excited.
Wow, that's so exciting though. Like I feel like you have such a good perspective on it, and I think just from having two completely different styles of releases, obviously now going into your next book, like you're able to really have kind of like you have a better feel of what you like and now you know that you need or what you want to do going forward. So, and it's always
Yeah.
it's those hard things that I think everyone struggles with, the like the marketing and the promotion of like feeling like you have to share everything because of the like demand for it, or if you go on and you see like, oh my gosh, everybody else is posting every single day, like why
Yeah,
like do I need to do that? And so yeah, honestly, yeah. Listen to yourself. Make the changes you need to make, even if they're scary, like changing
truly.
books. And
Truly.
that's so real.
Yeah, I think it's so sweet that like you have come to like that place where you're like, I mean, even as hard as it might be, or maybe it's easy, I don't know, but you're like, you know what, it's okay to not follow the exact script or like the exact timeline I laid out, and it will still be okay. Like it might not be my favorite thing to do to like relinquish control of that, but at the same time, it's like you're like gaining back control in a sense because you're like, no, I'm the one who's in charge of this. No one's putting
Yes.
me in this except for myself. And so I think that's like that's so cool that you've been able to do that and that you're really like embracing it too and not just saying, oh yeah, this happened, so I guess I'm just going with it. But you're like, no, this is what's happening and I'm doing what works for me and I'm doing like what I want to do, not just, oh, I'm doing this because that's what everyone expects.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So kind of on that note, what would you say is one or some of your favorite moments or like parts of the process, like from conceptualizing to writing, or maybe just the first draft, I don't know, or like third draft or publishing or arcs, like what would you say is like the part of the process that you're like, oh, this is where I'm meant to be?
So I think I feel like this is like such a stereotypical answer, but like it's me, Pinterest, and Spotify against the world, honestly. Like, you know, um, I think that's probably the best part is that when I get to like kind of just let those thoughts turn into something that I can visualize, something that I can like hear and then sit. And I really like being able to bring what I'm seeing in my head or what I'm imagining. Something that I have been told from multiple parties is that my writing often spins very like cinematically. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I am such a visual and also like auditory person that like I can hear a song and imagine like a scene and I'm like, I got it. And so I've actually, that's something that again, I've been doing more than I did last time where I'm like listening to songs and kind of like sitting in that. I've got this blue, I thought it was around me, but it's not. Anyways, this like blue composition notebook that I've been carrying around with me literally everywhere. And like anytime I have like an idea or like something pops into my head or like whatever, I like scribble it down. I'm like writing it down and just like trying to like keep up with all of that because again I think that was something that I kind of struggled with. Senior lane is a little erratic, but it's okay nonetheless, we got here. We're published, it's fine. But it was very much kind of like a okay, I'll go from here and then like wait and kind of wait for inspiration to strike and then I'll go and then I'll go, whereas like I really want to just like go into it like strong, clear minded. And obviously, I know things are still going to change because so is life. But something that I really do enjoy with that process is again, like the plotting, the thinking, the music, the ideas, and just being able to like create. And it is also like, I'm again, for the people, I don't know if y'all have ever like discussed this before with other authors that have like aphantasia, where they're the type of people that like can't visualize. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So I was telling one of my friends about that and stuff because I was asking her when she reads, I'm like, oh my gosh, well, like, what do you see? And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, huh? Yeah. It's like, what? I know. She's like, what do you mean? What do I see? And I'm like, what movie is playing in your head? She was like, nothing. I'm just reading. And I'm like,
Oh,
what? So that's like, I think about that. And I guess that's why I try to like paint a really clear picture if you can't visualize it, which I still don't understand. And I feel so grateful that I have like the ability to do that. And like, man, it's crazy. I feel like the author of like Light Lark, I think she can't visualize things, and it's why, because somebody, yeah, she was being interviewed, actually I think it is her, she was being interviewed for her the movie thing, and she was like, I've always been so confused when people are like, who do you see, like who's your fan cast, and she's like, I never understood what they were asking. Yeah, she's like, because I didn't realize that like people visualize actors and actresses or people like while they're reading, and I was like, huh. Yeah.
so
So it's crazy. It's crazy to me. But yeah, I'm like such a visual person, and like I cannot imagine it being any other way. It kind of scares me a little bit, but you know.
no, that's so real. I think about that. I was just telling my coworkers about that because I'm like, if I'm like, even if it's like not reading or something, but like if somebody like told me like, imagine this, like picture this in your head, I'm watching it like a movie, and that's how I am. That's how my brain is. So, but that's so real. Like Pinterest, Spotify, getting in the moment, setting the vibes while you like plot and just plan things and come up with characters and scenes is so fun. Like that is truly like such a fun part of the process. Do you feel like you have, I mean, I feel like this is everyone's Spotify and Pinterest are like everyone's answers to this question, but if you have anything else that helps you, do you have any like favorite things that help you draw inspo for like coming up with your characters and their aesthetics? Because like they're such good aesthetics and they're so realistic. Every time you like post about your like oh the girls of this book, like I'm like wow, I know all these people. Like
Yeah, I think it's like a lot of self-reflecting. Like taking little bits of myself. Also, um people that I like know and have interacted with and had in my life, and also like other platforms like TikToks or like movies, just like things where I like see things and they like either resonate with me enough to the fact that when I'm like thinking of a character, like that kind of like jumps out to me. But also a lot of the times, like these characters just like they tell me who they're gonna be. Like very few moments have I been like sitting and being like, okay, like what's this person like personality gonna be? Like I see them and I'm like this, and it just like they tell me and they talk to me, and it's like funny because people will be like, oh my gosh, like, this reminds me so much of myself, or, blah, 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 blah. And I love that because I think like relatability is amazing. And it just like makes me glad that I'm like, okay, so I didn't just like, imagine that this is like relatable. Like it is. So it's nice. But yeah, it's fun
Oh,
though. But yeah.
wait, that is so fun. Because I know like because like most people we've talked to, they're like, yeah, like I just kind of come up with the characters and then they write themselves after a little while, but you're like, no, they write themselves from the beginning. So like that's so cool. So okay, kind of on that note, is there a character that you've written, or maybe you're in the process of writing, or maybe they don't exist yet, that you feel like you relate to the most?
Yes. So well, obviously, I think it's very well known, and like it's kind of like speculated oftentimes that like me and Harlow are very similar, and there are a lot of similarities, which, yes, and I mean, that's very, I feel like public knowledge, and she's a lot of qualities like that are very similar to me, and she was obviously inspired by parts of myself. Um, However, I also really like resonate with Margot in certain aspects. Each of the characters, there's a little bit of me in all of them. Like Harlow's struggles and Margot's like battles, Lennon, her wittiness, and then like the character in the fourth book that has not been announced. I also feel like her and I are very much like handshake, you know? Um, so I feel like I feel like the general consensus is like it's going to be Harlow every time. But I feel like oh, I honestly think that me and Margot might be more similar just from like an emotional standpoint. Um and then there's a character in the series that was supposed to be released instead of Everson Valley. Yeah, the female main character in the first book is like, I will say, is actually like kind of like me to a T. So I don't know when the world will meet her, but she exists. So um but something funny about characters that I feel like y'all will probably think this is interesting is so have, this is not a trick question either. Have y'all both read Stay in Your Lane?
No, I'm
Okay.
actually still reading it at this
No,
moment,
that's okay. It's fine.
but I'm reading it.
So I only asked just because I didn't want to just like start talking about the person that I'm about to say. And I can also like make a generalization like for the purpose of the people listening that have not, you know, read it and stuff without giving anything away. But the antagonist in the book, Beckett, what I think is so interesting to me is that everyone who's read that book, and I'm also like not mad about it because he's the antagonist and you know it's fine. Nobody has ever asked me what he looks like, which is so fascinating to me.
That's crazy.
And I am just like, because I feel like a lot of other times, like even when you get other books with like villains or stuff, because like I don't really describe him like physically. Like I think he's just kind of stereotyped as like he's a frat boy, like whatever, and do with that what you will. But I genuinely had like thought that at some point someone would have been like, well, what does he look like? Or like, what do you think? You know, I don't know. I just feel like I thought that would have come up at some point, but nobody does. Nobody cares about him. And I'm like, okay, it's fine with me.
Everyone's just picturing their own enemy. Like they're like, okay, worst guy I've ever known.
Literally,
That's
literally, literally. So, but I just
that's
like
so
thought it
funny.
was interesting to me, but not that serious.
So good. I love that. Um, well, I guess this is very, I mean, it's related to all your books, but very prevalent in Stay in Your Lane, and then also going to be very, very prevalent in Make the Right Call. Um,
Yeah.
just like therapy and mental health rep, in books. Just like how do you go about approaching these topics with care and like anything else you'd want to share about writing that kind of rep into your books and just like if there's anything that is challenging when it comes to that or like what comes easy to you or like literally anything about it. Just it's so important to have in books and it's like so special. And I think it makes a lot of people feel very seen and validated. So just would love some thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think like the kind of overarching theme to writing about sensitive topics in general is like the gift that sensitivity readers are. And as like an indie author and other authors in general, like, you know, applying that to your work because while a lot of stay in your lane, not all of it, but there, you know, is lived experience. Obviously, how I feel about a circumstance is not that does not like set the, you know, the baseline for it. And so for anyone who does not know, one of the themes in Stay in Your Lane is overcoming abuse. And what my experience with that is obviously, again, it's not the rule of thumb. And so it was like really important that I had other people who had been in similar experiences or had known someone who had kind of gone through that and to read it and to tell me, like, hey, how do you know how does this read to you and stuff. And the hardest part though that I will say about that was though I like did not want it to take away from the integrity of like the story. And I didn't want to like I didn't want to go at it from the sense of like, well, you know, this may not be how someone else experienced it, so I shouldn't write it that way. It was more so making sure that it translated in a way that was authentic and obviously done with like respect and care for the parties that would relate to it. Because again, the degree to which it is a theme in the book, thankfully, was not the degree to which it was prevalent in my life. But other aspects of it, I took like my experiences and then kind of, changed them a little bit and dialed them a little bit and obviously made it to where it fit her story. Because at the end of the day, like it is Harlow's story, it's not my story. And it's very clear to me that, to know that and to go through that. And with Margot's book, similarly, having hands on it with other people who are not only maybe someone who has dealt with depression or has struggled with mental illness, but there will be someone who is a licensed, that they are a therapist, they're a counselor, not just for the sense of that Margot's also a counselor and making sure that, things line up, but also to kind of have eyes on it from that perspective. And it's funny because when I started going to school, my degree was in psychology and I wanted to become an LPC or a licensed professional counselor, which is what Margot is essentially. She's not practicing at Everson. She gets brought on as like an advisor, but like that is her like introduction. And that's kind of like her backstory. So I wanted to make sure that like I knew that someone would be like kind of reading that, because there are other things like schooling and stuff like that you do want it to add up. Like it's fiction, but also it's not like, oh, I went to college for 2 years and I'm a therapist, because like that's not, it doesn't make sense. But just the mental health aspect in general, I just think it's like really important, because obviously reading right now is like, it is trending and it is coming back, and I think it's amazing. And obviously there are people who are reading for escapism, and there are people that are reading for just fun, and then there are also people that are reading for the idea that they're not alone and maybe what they're feeling. And I have made it very clear that yes, like while Stay in Your Lane is a story with love and there's wit and banter, it's a very realistic story, and it's written as something that could happen because it's something that does happen and has happened. And I feel like to shy away from kind of the harsh reality of that would have been a disservice to anyone who has unfortunately walked through that or known someone and that has walked through abuse. And I had a lot of moments where I was really nervous, not just for the fact of how will this be received and will it be critiqued, but like knowing that it was a part of myself that I was putting out there very publicly. But again, something that I feel like I have always kind of like lived by and operated by is that like no one can feel less alone if they don't know that someone else is like struggling with what they're going through. And so like the first step, I feel like, in establishing relationships and just like, I don't know, making yourself like a beacon for other people is like, you have to be transparent, you have to be vulnerable. Obviously there's boundaries to that, but again, it's like, if we don't talk about the things that we've struggled with and the things that we've walked through, there are other people that maybe will never feel like they can come out of it, like because of that, and because they don't realize that they're not the only person. I think mental health in general, I think struggles of life has a really wicked way of always making you feel like you're the only person dealing with it. And that's just entirely like not the case. And I know so many people know that, right? Like it is talked about, and it is it's not taboo anymore, right, to like talk about therapy and talk about medication and stuff like that. But it's still, the mind has a way of deceiving you and being like, you're on your own in this. And my goal at the end of writing and all of that to publication was, if at least one person read Stay in Your Lane and was like, I needed this, then like job done, work done, and ultimately like that happened. And I think that has brought me like the greatest peace and joy, because it isn't about the numbers. Obviously it's great, but you need that to be able to continue. That is one unfortunate thing about being an indie author, is it is self-funded, but also I made peace. And I know I talked about this previously, but like I made peace very early on that this book was not being published for, self proclamation and stuff. I knew it was for someone, at least one person. And I'm just like really thankful that it found that person. And I think going forward, that will be the mentality and the outlook that I carry, that if again one person reads this and, says, especially with Margot's book, like, hey, maybe I do need to consider, medication, or hey, maybe I need to give therapy a try, or hey, gosh, like I'm so glad to know that, I'm not the only person that's ever felt this way, and maybe there are other ways that I can like figure out how to navigate this. Then like again, I think it's just like a very small way to be used by the universe to like make the world a better place. And like what an honor to be able to take like a passion and something that I enjoy and then turn it into something that helps other people. And I feel like so many other indie authors and authors in general like feel that way and have that mentality, and I think like that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is so, so good and such a good like mindset to have. Like just feeling like, yeah, I'll be so fulfilled, like to the fullest extent if just one person like really resonates with this. That is just I love that.
Yeah. And I think too, as someone who still has like ongoing mental health like struggles, and I struggle with depression, I have been like I've had depression. I say I had, like I've struggled with it. I was technically diagnosed when I was in high school, but I had like early onset signs as like an adolescent of like anxiety and depression, all this stuff. But obviously as I got older, things kind of made themselves more known. And my walk with that, I feel like I've been very honest about it in certain capacities. And for anyone obviously who's listening to this and has no idea who I am or has never followed me or anything like that, again, my journey of that included hospitalization and included medication. It included, struggling with things that, again, are just very, very heavy and difficult topics. And so I wish that I could say that even now, right, that like after having, got to this point in my life, that like I don't still struggle with that. But unfortunately, like I have like severe clinical depression. Like that's just, it is what it is. But something that I saw like a month ago that really, really changed kind of an outlook for me on like just wondering why I'm here, or wondering like what my purpose is or something, is I love the band 21 Pilots. I have for like a really long time. And I saw like it was a recent post, but it was a really old video of Tyler, who's like one of the singers. And they have a song called Kitchen Sink. And the lyrics, like the song talks about like, a kitchen sink to you is not a kitchen sink to me. And people always ask him, they're like, what is a kitchen sink? And he said, a kitchen sink is something that gives you purpose because nobody else can explain it but you. And he went on to say that basically, like, if you're struggling with purpose, create something that nobody else in the world but you can explain. And I just like had this aha moment of like, if I decided to, walk away from writing, or just like to really like, kind of let the dark thoughts in my mind like win, then who would be able to explain stay in your lane? Like who would be able to explain, the nature of emotions, just like these things. And so something that has been like such a driving force for me lately has been that like, you know, I'm the only person out there that can truly explain stay in your lane to the degree that I can, because I created it. And that gives me purpose. And I just feel like I have been sharing with so many people lately, especially like in the world that we live in now, where there's like just such a struggle for like self and like such a struggle for purpose, that create something that you are the only person who can explain it and explain it to the degree of why it matters. And like that, like right there is your purpose. And I feel like being an author and being a creative, like is leaning into that and has given me like such clarity on like moving forward. And I hope whoever listens to this or whatever, like I hope encourages, to just like to take that step to do something, whether it's art, music, book, I mean, whatever. And I don't know, I just like that really, really resonated with me. And I just felt like more people needed to hear it.
No, that's so awesome. I mean, obviously, like first and foremost, like thank you for being so open and vulnerable with that, because like that's not easy stuff, like not easy topics to like just talk about and be like, okay, world, here you go. Here's every part of me. Or even here's like some of the deepest parts of me. Um, and I know that you said that it's not your story, but it's Margot's, and so or Harlow's. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm getting everyone mixed up. I'm such a
I
fake
mean, it's
fan.
kind of both, truthfully. They both have walks
Like,
of life that I've walked. So
yeah, but it's still like at the end of the day, because you wrote them, like it's your story too, right? And so
mhm.
it's such a sweet moment to have. It's like, yes, my characters are like their own people. They write themselves, they are who they are, and like I could try to change them, but it wouldn't make sense for them. But at the same time, it's like, oh, but they're my babies. Like
Yeah.
that's a part of me. That's part of like who you'll always be. It's like, oh, Margot and Harlow and Winnie and everyone else, all a part of you. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. And like, obviously a fake fan because I just admitted that I haven't read Stain Your Lane yet. But like,
No,
um,
it's really okay.
oh, there's just so many books to read and not enough time. Um,
No, I get it. Trust me.
but like from all your posts and like the way that you've been speaking about it, like in like DMs or like even to just today, it's so obvious that you have like such purpose and intention with these stories. It's not just like, oh yeah, let me get my claim to fame, or oh yeah, let me share my story with the world so that everyone can feel so sorry for me. Or like, but it's like, no, let me write these stories because I know someone else is going through this and I want to make sure that they know they're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so, I mean, I feel like it's very, very prevalent. I think it's really hard to also because there are moments where I think about, I'm like, oh gosh, like, is this too much? Like, or am I like, do people really want to read another like emotionally heavy? And then I'm like, if they want to read a fluffy romance book, there are plenty. Like, it's not my responsibility to like, I don't want to say cater because that's right. Obviously, you have to like consider your audience, but I don't need to be thinking about what book someone wants to read because at the end of the day, you're never going to be able to satisfy everyone. And so you just have to, like you said, like stay true to the story and write what is like from your heart, your soul, and just what feels like authentic. And then be willing to accept critique if it comes. And also just like keeping the mentality of just like being gracious through the whole thing. I feel like that's what lasts. And I put on my Instagram like a while ago this post about like how to be like gracious in like a creative space. And I like go back and reread that to myself sometimes because like I will have days where I start to like compare my stuff to other people's in the sense of like, oh my gosh, well, I thought that I would be here by now. And then I like have to remind myself that like I need to be gracious with my progress. And also something my dad tells me a lot that is like very humbling, but also like does kind of like is a good reality check. Something that his football coach told him. And then, he carried with him and he's like told me since I started like this journey is that deserving is not always getting. And I really kind of had to like have a check yourself moment when like I let my mind like rattle off like I deserve, this or okay, yeah, but deserving is not always getting. And also like if it's meant to be, like the time will come and just like relinquishing that has been like huge for me because it's just like, whew, as someone who likes to be like controlled, like just it'll be okay.
Yes, that's such good advice. Like, I think everyone needs that. I need that, and I think like all the people listening probably need that too. I'm thinking about that all the time. Not every time I go to like say like because I feel like that's something I comment a lot. Like if someone has like an accomplishment, I feel like I'm always like, "Oh, so deserving," and then, like I'm gonna like every time I go to say that now, I'm gonna think about that. Um, I love that. Um, do you? Sorry, I'm not me just jumping straight into a question. Kind of similar to like good advice or anything, just those iconic things that stick with you. Do you have any like favorite lines or moments that you've written?
Hmm. So I okay. I love the interactions with Shep's mom in Senior Lane, like Mama Ford's, Laura Ford's, like love her so much. And so funny too, because like she was not an OG character. She was a character that was just like, hey, I'm here. And now I'm gonna be like a staple. Like it was just, it's so funny. But just like the little kind of comments that she makes and the interactions and stuff with her. Um, I think that a line that I kind of like go back to a lot is when Harlow and Shep are like kind of having a conversation and he is telling her and I just posted a reel about this today. Like he accidentally takes her home for the first time and to like in his to meet his parents, but like that's not the intentions. It's actually like very innocent. But anyways, they're leaving and she's kind of just like starting to understand that like he really is interested in her and she still can't understand why because again she's a collegiate athlete, she's very like in her mind like performance based, achievement based, like just that type of thing, and also she's not really receiving the best love if you can even call it that, with Beckett, who is the guy that she's with, and she asks him and she's like, why are you so persistent with me? And he tells her, he's like, I see you for more than where you are right now. And I just feel like we all need to know that we are more than like maybe where we are right now in life and or where we have been, and like we're not defined by our failures or our past or the things that maybe we think disqualify us from like love or even just kindness in general, because a lot of Shep's efforts towards her are not necessarily like romantic love gestures. They're just like he's like, I care about you and I feel called to act on that. And so I always try to remind myself that like I am more than where I am right now. And that line like really like gets me. Um Throwing it back to the nature of emotions, the line that I literally to this day am obsessed with is I think it goes like this. And again, like it's been a while since I've read that book, but I think it's something like your body speaks to me in a language I didn't know I was fluent in. And literally when I was like going back and I was like, who wrote that? I was like, that was good. But yeah, I like that one sticks out to me. The scene though, and I'm like the reaction I'm having right now is so funny. Like that I have been losing my mind over right now is I again, it's a lot of it's been journaling. I don't have a lot typed out. I'm trying to actually do like mechanics and stuff. Is the song that kind of triggered the first time that Margot and Pierce are intimate in their adult life that is like playing. It literally makes me so giddy to think because it is just so like like and it's not, again, it's like I want to write spice and like things in the sense of that I want it to feel like organic and natural and not like, overly like over the top. And there's just something about what happens between them and the way, like I said, the song, that it just makes me like and I can't stop thinking about it. And every time I do talk about it, I literally am just like, grinning and my cheeks, I just feel like flush. And I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be one of those like moments where the readers are like biting their finger, like giggling, kicking their feet, all the things. So I'm excited to write that.
Oh my goodness. I'm okay. I need to get on Stay in Your Lane so then I could be excited for the second one, except I'm already excited for Make the Right Call. So you've done your job. Okay. Speaking of readers and just like kicking your feet and stuff. Okay, maybe these books don't do it. Maybe they do. I don't know. But what is a book or books that you would recommend to absolutely everyone?
Okay. So, first of all, I have like a rapid fire list that I feel like I try to like always kind of hit a niche. Um, the first being Katie Michelle, the Lenny's Bartender series, shoving it in your face. Don't speak to me until you've read it. And I'm just kidding. No, but die hard for that. The second one being the Boys of Tommen series by Chloe Walsh. I will take that series to my grave. Um, the Devil's Night series, if you're like a dark romance reader, like I feel like that is again, it's an easy recommendation. Lola Miles, another indie author that I'm like, here you go. I'm excited for y'all's book. I'm just sitting here like, give it. But yeah, I feel like hands down, like it's gotta be like Boys of Tommen, The Devil's Night. I do love like the Lord series by Chantal Tessier. I know those are like really popular, but I haven't really been like reading as many dark romance books lately. I've been reading like Lauren Blakely and like very like cutesy and stuff like that. But I also think Butcher and Blackbird would be like a stamp, like you have to read this book. And there's so many more, and I'm just like, but yeah, yeah. I'm listening to a Lauren Blakely book right now on Audible, and Jacob Morgan is the male narrator, and if he narrates it, I'm listening to it. Like I don't care. He's great. So yeah, it's pretty fun. What are y'all reading these days? That's a real question.
I actually was me. I was reading Stay in Your Lane in my cubicle at work today. Um, no, oh, but for legal reasons I wasn't. Um, and then um, let's see. Literally just all the books of like everyone who's coming on the podcast right now for Week of Love because like I had not read books in months because we were editing and like writing and all this stuff. And so I'm like trying to catch up on like all our friends' books. So Over the Edge, um, Rare Blend.
That's another one. Oh my gosh. I have an arc of attached at the heart. And then Over the Edge is my next read. And then Tumbling Over the Tight End by
Oh,
Vi is
mhm.
yes, that's next. Yeah, I've got such a lineup. It's crazy. And I wish that I could like read them all, like I could open them and just look at them and consume them, but it doesn't work like that.
Oh, literally. Literally, yeah. I'm same boat as Sam. It's Living, Laughing, Loving. And now that Onyx Storm is out too, I have to be reading that. So I'm reading like 500, 600 books at a time. So
I have not read any of those books. I want to. I own the other two, but I'm actually terrified to read any book that's like really, really popular because I'm terrified that I'm not going to like it. And then I'm just
okay.
going to have to be like, I will say I tickled the fantasy itch and listened to and read Lauren Roberts her books and I enjoyed them. So I'm excited for Fearless that comes out in April, I will say. So dabbling in a bit of everything. So
Okay. This is also such a fun question for us to ask because it could be controversial. And you know us, we're controversial. Are there any tropes you feel super strongly about, good or bad?
um hmm. I love me a good uh forced proximity. Love it. Um, I also think like obviously enemies to lovers is like so fun. I also lately have been enjoying like hate to lovers, like not dislike, like not no, like hate, bleh, cannot stand. Which is actually book 4 of Everson Valley it's a hate to love romance. And it's so funny because the book quite literally starts and he's like, I've never disliked someone so much in my life. So it's kind of funny. but I know it's a hot take, but I love me an accidental pregnancy, especially when it's like, guy steps up or he's not the daddy, but he's daddy, We love that. Um, but yeah, I think it's, you know, just like those like hee hee kind of ones. The only one that I like sometimes struggle with, and I only struggle with in the sense that like I just it's hard for me to, I guess, like put myself because I'm a very much like a YN reader, right? Like I'm putting myself is the age gap ones, but that's just because I don't think I could ever see myself like in that type of situation. And so yeah, I'm just like that one's like, I don't know. That one's hard for me to get behind, but I really do enjoy like there's not really a lot that I don't like. I feel like I read all genres, all tropes, but love me. Oh, I do have a hot take. I do have a hot take. Okay, time out. Time out. All right. There's nothing that cue Tyra Banks, America's Next Top Model. I have never been disappointed in my life. I've never been so when it's a billionaire romance and the girl is like, I don't want your money. Girl, get out. Then give it to me. Let me have it
She's
because
lying. She wants
you're
it. Oh my
lying.
God.
Yeah, literally. I have never yelled at a girl like this in my life. Literally. I'm like, excuse me? Like, what do you mean you don't want his Amex that has no limit? You're lying? Or again, give it to me. Okay. Give it to me. Also, y'all don't have to put that in the episode. I just thought of that and I was like,
No, I
wait a
love
minute.
that. That's staying in.
Let me get passionate about something really quick. Literally. It's like when I posted on Threads. Also, this is this, but just not for the episode, but the Threads the other day when I was like, authors who are also artists, like, how does it feel to be God's favorite? Like, excuse me, like, how does it feel? Okay. Because if I was able to just be like, oh, character art, like, please.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay.
I did not know what to expect when you're like, wait, I do have a hot take. I was like, what's it gonna be? And you're so right. Like,
Yeah. I
not
feel like
saying
it's not really a hot take, but more so like, ugh,
no,
get
it's
out.
that's so funny. I love
Get
that.
out.
Um, Amazing. Okay, wow. We only have like one real question left, which is so crazy. Oh, the scary question. You don't have to have real examples, obviously, or anything.
Uh-huh.
But if we were to, you if we were to get our hands on your phone and look at your notes app, what would we find? Because we all know we would be nothing without our notes apps.
So I'm gonna be so real. I don't even care. Um, the last note that I was in on my phone was Q. What is her name? Laura Jean. Call me Laura Jean, if you will, to all the boys I've ever loved before. My note section, all the boys I've ever kissed before. That's my top note right now. Um, yeah, I was having a conversation with someone about dating and it got brought up and I was like, I kissed a lot of frogs to find a prince. And they were like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, kissed a lot of boys. And they were like, well, how many? And I was like, I don't know. So then I sat down and I was like, let me calculate this real quick. Yeah, I think kissing is so fun. Like that's a trope that I love too, is like a good kiss, like a good little makeout session. Like bring back kissing, it's just
Right.
the best. But that is the first thing. The second one was I have a note called TikTok notes because I thought TikTok was going to go away. And so I started writing down all the things from my favorite videos in the categories of thrifting, girly things, Charleston, like restaurants, music, books, which was the longest list, and then travel and then movies and shows. So I was like trying to like take my information. So yeah. What about y'all?
Oh, oh no.
Um, I have okay, actually my top note right now, the last thing I wrote was um a chunk from our acknowledgements
Hmm.
because Issa and I were both in the doc and I felt way too perceived to write. So we both like okay, spoiler I guess of our acknowledgements. We both wrote like a little chunk like about each other like at the end and
Yeah,
we were both in the doc and I was just like I feel way too perceived if Issa watches me type this right now. And so I
makes
wrote it
sense.
in my notes and then I copy pasted it in. Um Other than that, all the ISBNs for our book, just right there to copy paste. Um a very long list of all the titles we originally considered for book two, or like that, like anytime I had a thought of like this could be one, this could be one, I just like did as many things I could possibly think of. Um, ooh, Me For You characters as Taylor Swift songs, and Me For You characters as Bad Son songs. There's just like a note for every kind of artist with that. Oh, and this one says, um, Golden by Hairstyles is so Beau thinking about redacted.
That is
You're
tea.
so right.
Yeah.
That is actual tea. All right, Miss Issa girl, you're up. Share your secrets.
Oh, okay, well, it's really funny because I have 25 pinned notes. Um, one, two,
You
three,
can pin a note.
12 of them are shared, like with other people.
That's fair.
And but like my most recent one that I was like actually editing was okay, again, I'm reading Onyx Storm. My Empyrean series guesses. And so then like each of my friends and I like we like have our own because we're like shoot, we all read at different speeds and can read way different times a day. So we each have our own and then we just like mark them off if they're right or correct them if they're wrong.
Oh, I
So
like that.
yeah. And then I have yeah, there's so I have so many with Sam. Oh my gosh. Like we had like a note with acknowledgements for like people that we wanted to like make sure we like talked about and like marked off and then uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so
We
funny.
stayed up for like 2 hours on our the day that we traveled to Phoenix this last weekend, and her and I were giggling in bed for like 2 hours, like lights off. We should have been sleeping at this point, and we wrote this note with all of our author friends on it, like anybody we know through Instagram, and we were trying to
Mhm.
put them into sororities at our college that like based on people we know. It was just
That's so funny.
um, and we'll probably have
So
to evaluate them, but
oh, and
um,
then I'm starting like a 30 before 30 list. I only have 10 things on there, so I need 20 more. And then I have like 5 years. So live, laugh, love. And yeah, just a whole bunch of like, oh my gosh, like text, like I'll write texts in my, or like drafts of like emails or texts in my notes and then I'll copy paste. I have a lot of those and
It'd be like that.
shopping lists and post ideas and yeah, so fun. Wow, no one's asked us that before. That's crazy.
I
Scary.
mean, it works. If journal shaped, why not journal?
right.
So, so true. Oh my gosh. Ah, I can't believe that was the last question. I'm so sad that it's over, but also like this was such a fun conversation. It's been a long time coming. Sam and I have like wanted to ask you to be on for so long, but like stars just haven't aligned until now. So we're so happy that you said yes and that you're here.
I was like so thrilled. And I never wanted to be like persistent about it in the way that I felt like I was annoying, but I also like wanted to make sure that it was clear that I was invested and like, I cared and like was interested. And I was like, I don't know how to do this like professionally, but and I was like, hey, let's yap.
We don't know either. So we're living, laughing, loving together. Um, and of course, before we round the episode out, we have to end it with our songs of the day. So Sam, what is your song of the day?
Was not ready for this. Okay.
Don't take mine.
I won't take yours. It's fine. Let's see. Mine is mine is going to be Pool by Paramore because I was listening to this very niche playlist I have based on this idea that I wanted to start like a punk pop themed coffee shop. Anyways, maybe that'll happen in my future sometime.
Fun.
Listening to like the playlist I made for like if that coffee shop had a playlist, and when that song came on earlier, I was like so actually just like enamored. Like I forgot how much I love that song. And so now it's just like I'm gonna be in my Paramore era again, I think, for a while. So that's mine.
Great
Elle.
era. Mine is probably going to be Nothing Really Matters by Jaden Ladder. It's kind of a mouthful there. Yeah, Nothing Really Matters by Jaden Ladder. Um, I discovered it on the TikTok. It was used in an edit with a character from the show Arcane, which I've like posted about on my Jinx, the characters and my like vibes I bring to the function. Anyways, it was an edit with one of the characters with that song, and it like gutted me. And then I like went and found it and listened to it, and I follow the author, and like I'm just like so invested in that song. And there's so many lines in it that I'm just like heavy like resonating with. So it's just been on a repeat for the last, honestly, since Monday, for the week, the whole week. I've literally just been like cycling through that.
That's so fun. Okay, I'll go listen to it after this. My song, throwing it all the way back to, I don't know when it came out, but their debut album, Wherever You Are by 5 Seconds of Summer. I've just been listening to my Five Sauce playlist lately, and that song comes on, and tears come out my eyes. So Live Love Love. Oh, guys, I can't stop. So good. Ugh. But yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, now it's like really over, and I'm really sad. For everyone listening, if you don't already, make sure to follow Miss L on socials at lfsun.author. We'll link it everywhere we can, obviously. But seriously, oh, this was so much fun. Thank you again for like being so open and vulnerable with us, and for giving us secrets off the record. Can't wait.
Thank you guys for having me. This was like such a dream and a fun, like just like literally manifestation brought to life. And it was just like, I don't know, it's always exciting to talk to other people that are passionate about what you're passionate about, but also like you guys create a safe space to be able to talk about these things. So thank you for doing that. And then obviously then sharing it with more people because it's just special.
No,
So
thanks. Oh, well, okay. This was so fun. I know I keep saying that, and I'm just like I'm a revolving door at this point, but it really was so fun, and I'm excited for the next time this happens, which I'm sure there will be a next time. I just know it. So until then, Sam and Elle, I hope you guys both have a lovely rest of your day.
thanks, Issa, and likewise to you all.
Bye.